The front door of my ranch blew open with such force it rattled the windows and echoed across the pasture like a rifle shot. I froze at the barn gate, straw clinging to my sleeves, the feed bucket slipping from my hands. The morning had been quiet, cows lowing, chickens scratching in the dirt, until that storm of boots and shouts shattered everything. They barged in without knocking, without warning, shouting about codes and violations as if my home were theirs. What they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that 30 feet inside that door, asleep in his boots with a badge still pinned to his chest, was Sheriff Walter Briggs. I sprinted for the porch, yelling, but the wind carried my voice the wrong way. The patrol spread out through the house like they were searching for contraband. Then I heard it. That voice, low and dangerous, carrying through the walls. You just made the worst mistake of your lives. My boots hit the porch just as the sound of a gun being cocked cut through the chaos. Sheriff Briggs filled the hallway in his undershirt, revolver steady in one hand, badge flashing in the other. He didn't hesitate. Hands where I can see them. One clipboard hit the floor. Another hand twitched toward a belt. Briggs's voice cracked like thunder. Now. That was when Earl Tennyson himself appeared in the doorway, red-faced and smug in his beige suit. He froze when he saw his men at gunpoint. Sheriff, what is the meaning of this? You just sent your dogs into the wrong house, Briggs growled. They argued, Earl claiming jurisdiction, Briggs reminding him this ranch wasn't and never had been part of Cedar Loop Ridge HOA. And then sirens split the morning. Back up. Briggs had triggered the silent alarm. When one of Earl's men bolted out the back door and landed face first in a manure pile, Deputy Maria Gonzalez was waiting, coffee in hand, her boot on his back, Earl's face drained pale as chalk. Briggs holstered his revolver only after Maria cuffed the trespasser. I was shaking with rage when I finally managed to speak. Sheriff, they kicked the door open. Didn't even knock. Briggs turned his sharp eyes on Earl. You broke into private property, falsely claimed authority, and endangered your men. That's not a misunderstanding, Earl. That's criminal. Earl muttered some excuse about community standards, but I cut him off. This land isn't Cedar Loop Ridge. My line starts at the creek. Your subdivision doesn't reach past the bend. Maria asked if she should haul the rest of them in. Briggs gave Earl a stare so hard it cut through his bluster. Depends. You gonna fix his door, apologize, and keep off his land? Earl sagged, nodded, muttered, done. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. 2 days later, my mailbox vanished. Cut clean at the base. No tracks, no tire marks. When I called Briggs, he sighed. They're not finished, Jack, just getting creative. Then came the SUV, tinted windows, Vice President Martha Dane with her fake smile and oversized sunglasses. She leaned out and proposed I voluntarily join the HOA. White fences, matching barns, neat landscaping, all the control I never asked for. I laughed in her face. If I had to choose between handing this ranch to your HOA or a wild boar, I'd pick the pig. Her smile vanished. She drove off. That night, footsteps creaked on my porch. The bulb over the door popped and went dark, glass raining down. A tall shadow lingered near the broken mailbox post. When I armed myself and went outside, the figure was gone. In its place, a silver-tacked envelope. Inside, one line. You were warned. The threats escalated. Trespassers crept through the west pasture, planting a GPS tracker on my livestock trailer before bolting into the woods. Maria caught one of them. Evidence bagged. Proof of surveillance. We've got a whole new game, she said grimly. She was right. Then the county called an emergency zoning meeting. Earl and his crew claimed my western slope was neglected and unsafe, and that annexation into the HOA would serve the public interest. I stood in that crowded room, every eye on me, and laid down deeds and surveyor maps older than half the people there. This land's been private for 3 generations. It's not yours. It never will be. Earl ranted about my chickens and peeling porch paint. Laughter rippled through the room. Then the door opened, and in walked Briggs with a federal land use attorney. Documents in hand, he exposed Earl's petitions as fraud, his patrols as illegal trespass. The board denied the motion and launched an inquiry. Earl looked gutted, but humiliation wasn't enough for them. The next night, fire lit my barn wall. Gasoline accelerant, the fire marshal said. My horse Bandit later limped home with a bloody gash from a hidden wire strung across the pasture. That was the line. Rage seared hotter than the flames. They wanted war. They got it. I dusted off the mineral rights deed my grandfather secured during the oil rush. Beneath Cedar Loop Ridge ran veins of crude. Not much, but enough. And those rights belonged to me. I filed activation. Let them choke on the thought of rigs humming beneath their manicured lawns. When bulldozers rolled onto my land at dawn, carving a road through my pasture under forged county permits, I thought my chest would explode. Earl stood in sunglasses, sipping coffee like it was a Sunday picnic. I stormed toward him. "You've got 10 seconds to get off my land." "Overreacting?" he sneered. "The county approved this easement." Then the cruisers appeared on the ridge, lights flashing. Briggs led deputies down with files in hand. "Funny," he said, "your permit bears the signature of a man who retired 6 months ago." The workers froze. Earl paled. Within minutes, deputies cuffed him for felony forgery. The bulldozers backed away, engines silenced. My land was mine again, for now. But then Lydia James appeared, heels clicking up my gravel drive. Former board member, whistleblower. She handed me a thumb drive, eyes sharp. "They've been planning a luxury golf resort. Your ranch is the centerpiece. Earl was their distraction. Here's everything: emails, documents, proof." The state attorney general pounced. Subpoenas flew. Board members resigned or were arrested. The foreign developer pulled out. Cedar Loop Ridge HOA was gutted, reduced to a powerless newsletter. I thought it was over. I wanted it to be. But threats came by letter, then by lawsuit. Stacks of envelopes piled in my mailbox, claims of unsafe environment, hostile behavior, interference with community plans. Smoke and mirrors, meant to bleed me dry through fees and court dates. But they underestimated one thing: this town. Neighbors showed up, mending fences, dropping off tools, feeding bandit hay, even funding my legal defense. Old friends, strangers, unions, everyone who'd ever bought eggs from me or shared a drink at the general store. They stood by me. And then Briggs brought me something better than reinforcements: the county's approval of my historical preservation petition. Mallister Ranch, protected forever. No annexation, no rezoning, not by anyone. We held a bonfire to celebrate. The whole town came. Kids roasted marshmallows, Maria told patrol stories, Lydia spoke about corruption, and Travis strummed his guitar while smoke curled into the Texas sky. I looked out across my land at the faces lit by firelight, and for the first time in months, my chest loosened. Someone asked why I fought so hard. I didn't answer right away. My eyes traced the horizon, the creek glinting under the moon, the fields where my father worked until his last breath. "Because this ranch is more than acres," I said quietly. "It's my family's sweat, my grandfather's dream, my future, and I wasn't about to let thieves turn it into a parking lot." We laughed, but deep down I knew the fight wasn't finished. Sure enough, just before midnight, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. The message chilled me more than fire ever could. "You got Earl, but we're not all gone. See you soon. The board." Briggs read it in silence. Maria frowned. "Earl was just the face," she said. "The real muscle still sits behind closed doors." Briggs tipped his hat, eyes locked on the dark fields beyond my porch. "They'll come again, Jack. But next time, it won't be bulldozers. It'll be lawsuits, and when they do, we'll be ready." I didn't sleep that night. The cicadas screamed outside, the land breathing steady beneath the moon. My hands gripped the railing of the porch. The fight had cost me peace, but not resolve. Not my land. Not ever. Some things are worth the blood, the fire, the sleepless nights. This ranch is one of them.